Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Franchise Tag. I am Gareth Smith, and today I'm joined by ESPN Analyst Dan Orlovsky. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. Thank you very much for your time today. I do appreciate it because I know you are on your way over to our shores today. How much are you looking forward to your trip over to the UK?
Yeah, I very much so. This is my for football fourth time going over there. I played over there twice in two separate games, and then called the game last year between Jacksonville and Denver. And so, when we get our schedule and you see the opportunity to go to London, it's always exciting because you understand how important it is for the NFL and the growth of
Mm.
the NFL over there. You understand how cool it is to be a part of the development of the fan bases in the UK, and then just London's a really cool city, and there's so much of it that is very indifferent, certainly of the state. So I'm looking forward to getting over there.
And we always love having the games over here in the UK. It's always a clamour for tickets every single year. I think this year the queue got into the region of, I think it was something like a few 100,000 was the queue length at one point, which is never a bad thing for the game, really, is it?
Yeah.
So when you come over here, what's the kind of thing you most look forward to when you come over to the UK?
Well, I think football-wise, just seeing how passionate people are, even in London for football. I think growing up, obviously in America and playing football here, and then being around the game for such a long time here, you're used to it. With our fan bases, you've become accustomed to it in many ways. I think there's a part of you that can take it for granted somewhat. There's a part of you that you kind of walk the line of like, man, people are really into it, and then going over and seeing it into the UK, and it has very similar feelings. Like you see, maybe there's a greater appreciation for the game itself rather than a fanatical fan base, so to speak. And so it's always something that I look forward to. I look forward to just going over to London in itself, and being a part of the city and walking around and getting to see the people and kind of seeing the culture a little bit. So I think there's a lot that I try to like take in.
And as you've mentioned, this is not your first time coming over to the UK to be involved in football over here. How do you find the fan base over here compared to the States? Because obviously the US, as you say, their fans are able to go to stadiums week in, week out. Us British fans, we get given a certain number of games each year, and
Yeah.
no matter who you support, we clamour to those games no matter what. How do you find the fan bases over here?
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. I think the thing that is different is if I was going to a game and it was between Atlanta and Jacksonville, which is the game that we have this weekend in Atlanta, it would be 80% Atlanta Falcons jerseys and 20% Jacksonville Jaguar jerseys. You go to the game and Wembley's full of, basically all 32 NFL franchises in some capacity, jersey wise. And there's a lot of individual jerseys. What I mean by that
Mm,
is, like Justin Jefferson because he's a star,
yeah.
Patrick Mahomes because he's a star. There's less maybe of the second tier players jerseys because like those individual stars are a little bit more shown just because of their notoriety.
And I think the other thing as well here in the UK, we have NFL Europe as our main jersey, mate. That's how we get our jerseys. But the range we get isn't always the best either, particularly when you go to the shop
Sure.
at the stadiums. Like your team, you get one player is your choice. Like Eagles, it's
Sure.
Jalen Hurts.
Sure.
Justin Jefferson is the player. So I think obviously that does impact the jerseys you will see. But I'll tell you one thing I always find interesting, like the British fans, we almost start playing jersey bingo to see like what jerseys you can spot, because they say you do spot every jersey imaginable, and just some of the random names that you spot on people's
Yeah,
jerseys as
yeah,
well can be
yeah,
quite
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, totally. You'll see some old school names. We'll from the booth, we'll try to play the game and try to cross off every team. We'll get the the league in front of us as far as like on a piece of paper and be like, okay, let us know. And you got to point it out. Like, where's the Bengals jersey? And then where's the Cowboys jersey? And where's the Packers jersey? And we'll kind of see how long it
Yes.
takes us to get through the whole list.
And it was always amazing the range of jerseys you do see at these events. But obviously, we have got some very interesting games coming over here this year. We're starting off with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who haven't hit the season in their full stride, going against an Atlanta Falcons who have started off fairly well this year with a very exciting young attack in Bijan and Ridder and all the rest of the fantastic wide receivers and tight ends they've got. How are you anticipating that first game to go?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really contested because both are good football teams. Jacksonville, while at 1-2, they shot themselves in the foot last week. There was 13 points were swung in that game off special teams. That's not necessarily likely to carry over game to game. They lead the NFL in drops as a football team right now. So those are things that you can clean up and control. And I still think that they're a very, very good football team. Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, that connection is, on the verge of becoming the A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, or the, Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, where it kind of vaults them both into a unique group. They're really talented on defense, and I think that their defense matches up well with Atlanta's. Atlanta is such a well-coached football team. They're super creative on offense. Bijan Robinson is an absolute superstar. I mean, he is for everyone in the UK, he's the new age Christian McCaffrey in many ways. I mean, he is used in such different and versatile ways. And he's so much fun to watch, and their defense runs around really good. So I'm kind of excited to see which of the, I don't want to call them unknown, but like hopeful offensive stars emerges in this game or kind of takes it over. Is it going to be, Calvin Ridley for Jacksonville, Bijan?
Oh, I've lost you there for a second.
I'm here.
Oh, I thought I lost the audio just cut out for a second. It's fine. But no, it's going to be an interesting game overall. I think that, as you say, like Bijan has been phenomenal since some of the moves he does, the amount of ankles that must be broken trying to just like get to him is just insane to watch.
He's a special player, man.
And it's also interesting because obviously he was selected in the first round and very early on for a running back, which at the moment is kind of rare at the moment over the last few years with the evolution of the game. What was it about him, you think, other than obviously what we've seen so far, was the reason why the Falcons went, we cannot pass up on this guy?
Yeah, he's not really a running back. Like you can't box him into just a person to hand the football off to, while you can do that to him. And he's incredible at it. He is so capable of, I mean, we call it "Where's Waldo" in many ways, and you'll see it in the game Sunday morning. They'll line him up in the backfield in a traditional way. They'll line him to the side of the quarterback in a non-traditional running back way. They'll have him be a wide receiver in a way that we would imagine, some of the best wide receivers in the L and like a Justin Jefferson will line up. They'll put him in the slot like you would any other really good NFL slot wide receiver. And he's capable of running routes and catching the football. So he's more of in the mold of just an offensive utility piece and weapon more than a running back. And I think when a guy has that many, that many capabilities and skills, you're drafting 3 players in one.
Yeah. And obviously it's a special occasion this year as well for Jacksonville coming to the UK. It marks their 10th year anniversary of coming over to our shores. How special of a relationship do you think it is that Jacksonville has with us over here in the UK now?
Yeah, obviously with Mr. Khan, there's history there, and I think it's great that they've kind of made this very much so a fabric of who they are and the routine, and it's allowed the fan base hopefully to build a little bit more of a connection to an organization and kind of their team, so to speak. So it's been a really good kind of partnership between Jacksonville, the NFL, and the UK.
And obviously, Jacksonville are also doing something for the first time as well in NFL UK history as well. They're doing back-to-back games in the UK, going up against probably the game that was announced as the one that most UK fans wanted the tickets for the second this one was announced. Bills versus the Jags. Two very, very good teams. What can we expect from Buffalo over here? Because obviously the climate's a little bit different than what they used to.
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo is also going to be coming off of probably to date it will be the biggest game of the NFL season, and they play Miami on Sunday. And Buffalo play Week 1. The Jets didn't play well, so they could be coming off of a huge win against the hottest team in the NFL. So for Buffalo, I think the difference. First of all, Josh Allen it's like watching Paul Bunyan play quarterback. He is a mountain of a human being. He is 6'5" and 240 pounds and crazy athletic and absolute cannon for an arm. So he's must-see television. He's jaw-dropping to watch, and they've kind of really built their offense around him and built him in a way or utilized him in a way that he is a scary football player. And Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, his wide receivers, are these crazy fast and super talented players. And they've got two really good tight ends and a defense that is flying around. So Buffalo is again, for us, going to be one of the best teams in the league for sure.
I think they are obviously in that category of, I'd probably say, top 5 teams. And the way I look at it when I've looked at the games this year, and I know I've heard a few other analysts mention this, that there are 5 teams that I think are better than everybody else, and they're obviously definitely up there again this year. How do you feel in relation to this? Because everyone talks about Super Bowl windows. Is there closing, or have they still got a few more years left in there in Buffalo to try and get that Super Bowl?
Buffalo's Super Bowl window will be as big as Josh Allen stays healthy. Josh is that special of a player, and they have a history of drafting pretty well. That's always the thing is, your quarterback could be great, but if you don't draft well and get ahead of stuff and develop players that are, if we're just being honest, less expensive than highly paid veteran players, it is tough. So Buffalo and their organization have done a pretty darn good job of assessing talent and drafting it and developing it. So as long as Josh stays healthy, their window is as long as he's there.
Perfect. And because I'll be honest, one of our friends is a big Bills fan, so obviously it's the kind of thing he wants to be hearing. Obviously, our final game is Lamar Jackson coming over here, playing against the Tennessee Titans in Derrick Henry. Again, a very, very interesting matchup there. How are you feeling about that final game?
Yeah, so with Derrick Henry and their ability to run the football, their offensive line needs to kind of get back to what it was.
Yeah.
And Derrick still looks like Derrick. He's just not, as up till now, had that production because the offensive line needs to come along just a little bit. Their defensive line is fantastic and violent and mean and tough. For Baltimore, it's the story of expectation for sure because we are so high on them. They have to get their receivers consistently healthy. That is still a conversation that we're having. And Lamar's in a new offense, and when they've been on the field and healthy, there's been really high moments. But again, 2 of those guys at wide receiver, Bateman and OBJ, did not play last week. And so we'll see kind of how they are able to stay healthy throughout the year and develop in this offense throughout the year. If they do, it's fun to watch. But if they don't, we continue to have this kind of what could have been conversation.
And they also seem to be quite unlucky with the injury situation, particularly in the running back room at the moment. They seem to be struggling, obviously, with injuries. How do you think that, in effect, not having their default weapons in running back could impact their potential this season?
And this is for Baltimore?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously JK going down stinks, and it really hurts kind of who they wanted to be, with the versatility of the pass and the run. I don't know if it kind of completely cripples their offensive goals because they were trying to transition just a little bit to a run first team. And I'd also say this, or pass first team, with what's going on in Indianapolis with Jonathan Taylor, and it seems like they remain adamant of him not wanting to play there. You just never know, because if as
Mm.
organization sits there and say we got a chance that we're halfway through our year, or 8 games or 6 games into our season, and we are real contenders, then you're a little bit more willing to make a trade or two. So I do think the injuries impact. I don't think they cripple.
And obviously, we saw last season what can happen if a trade works very much in a team's favour, with like CMC last year moving over to the 49ers and what happened to that organisation off the back of it. So no, very much a good point there. One last question before I let you go, if that's okay. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the team that drafted you, the Detroit Lions this year.
Yeah.
They are in a division that everyone said was going to be an interesting one this year because there was no massive clear favourite. I think people did favour the Lions overall. How do you feel their potential is this year? Will they go on to win the NFC North this year?
Yeah, I expect them to. I think they have the best offensive line in the division. I think they have the most creative, or one of the most creative play callers in football. I think they have the most proven and consistent quarterback. Well, I like Jordan Love for Green Bay. Um, they got a huge game on Thursday night versus Green Bay on the road, and it's for me, it's like this is the moment to kind of take over control of the division. The CJ Gardner-Johnson injury on their defense is not great for them because he's such an impactful player on both run and the pass. But I believe if their offensive line stays healthy, that they can control so many football games. I think it's hard for me not to believe in them as the favorite.
And obviously, I think there's a lot of fans who would love to see them as well win the North because it has been such a long time since they've been in the playoffs and things like that. So I think there's a lot of fans over here do want to see Detroit do well this year. So thank you so much for your time today. It is very much appreciated. Safe travels over to our shores, and I hope you enjoy your time over in the UK.
Thank you so much, bud.
Thank you very much for your time, and thank you everyone at home for listening. We'll be back soon with another special guest. And we are out.